The Morning Invasion with Dex, Steve-O, and Teo.
It's Thursday.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Beautiful morning, isn't it?
Still a bit early.
When are you gonna wake up?
Be extremely careful what you say. I haven't had my coffee yet, and I'm in no mood for stupid, irresponsible remarks.
It is a ridiculous waste of time. With no merit or meaning or lasting benefit on society. It's like a drain of global spiritual energy.
We've got great audio interfaces.
What good is a multi-wave distortion pedal without a true bypass?
I'm done recafoobling the energy motron.
What's the matter with everybody? Everybody's so grumpy every morning around here.
It's Thursday. This seems like a good bit of fun. Throw the switch.
We gotta go, go, go! Let's go!
Show must go on, right?
Go, go!
It's showtime.
Good morning, everybody.
Waiting so long. We have an affinity for like Phil Collins and Genesis.
Nothing could
And the Goo Goo Dolls.
Yes. Now I know.
It is Thursday morning,
Built-in ability.
February 25th.
High today at 55 degrees.
I did not say the time. 7:09.
I'm falling for her.
7:09.
High today at 55
You got to
degrees.
stick with the formula, man.
Hey, you know what?
Throw everything off.
Phil Collins threw everything off. He was Collins' my name.
Stop it. Today is February 25th. It's Shine a Light on Slavery Day, and we are happy to introduce the Starmie to Nic McKinley.
Woo.
Hello, Nick.
How you doing? Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, man.
Listen to that man.
So
Gosh, the studio.
He sounds like he's in Homeland.
Do I get to join in on the singing part?
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll lose Facebook friends, audience members.
Well,
You'll
maybe
be
we've
bankrupt
lost
within
people.
a
I
week.
don't know.
Yeah, we get more when we sing. People are waiting for the big crash. They want to see it all go down.
Nick is from deliverfund.org.
Yes.
And we had the privilege to talk to him and his wife yesterday. And because you guys were listening to us yesterday talk about the sex trade here in Albuquerque.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys, contacted, and we were so pumped when we heard you guys, wanted to give us some details and stats and anything we needed. And we're like, hey, man, you can just come on the show because you guys have a great story and you guys are doing some good things in the community right here in Albuquerque.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Nick, just tell everybody, a little background on who you are.
Okay. I spent, left home, born and raised in Montana.
What?
So that's, yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Billings and
Really?
kind of bouncing between Billings, Red Lodge area.
I'm
yeah.
from Ennis Bozeman area.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I got a lot of family
Nice.
that lives up there.
We'll talk later.
Absolutely. We'll exchange Montana cards.
I knew
You
there
guys,
was something cool about you,
Montana cards.
man. He looks like he's from Montana.
So joined the Air Force. Spent 11 years in the Air Force pararescue teams. Did a couple years of private personnel recovery work, like kidnap and ransom work for private investment banks in New York, and then got recruited over to the CIA and just left the CIA last March.
Wow.
Okay, when I think you might be the first person that I've ever met that's actually worked in the CIA. And cause, we've watched Homeland, we watch all these shows about the CIA, and
they're all 100% accurate.
yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to know. How real are these shows? And that makes me feel good
It's
about
cool
watching.
that you know Claire Danes.
Oh, see,
Absolutely.
I think my favorite documentary I've seen on this particular topic was it was a series of documentaries called Taken.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hear highly accurate as well. Like
True
one
to
guy just
life
going in there.
feature-length documentaries,
Yeah.
absolutely.
How many times have you had to Liam Neeson the situation and just you personally go over there and just start just killing bad guys? And
Probably 3 to 4 times a day.
Okay, all right,
Nice.
3 to 4 times a day. That's good. All right.
It doesn't sound
Nick
like
is
an
my hero.
exaggeration. It sounds real.
It's absolutely accurate.
No, but
Except not at
we
all.
make fun, but he's...
Well, that's because that's what most people. That's our
Yeah,
perception.
sure. Yeah,
we don't know.
It's
we
the
don't,
movies.
Yeah,
And we don't really know what it's really like. But I'm sure you have done some pretty just crazy things.
It's 95% boredom, followed by 5% sheer terror,
Yeah.
followed by 95% boredom.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. Yeah. Take us through it, though, because as we talk about this, first of all, local, Deliver Fund is local to Albuquerque. And when we think about human trafficking, when we think about slavery, we think of, I immediately, because I'm apparently racist and or have only seen Taken, I think of Asia. And I'm like, it's only happening in Asia.
Yeah. And everybody tends to think that, to include myself.
Yeah.
Kind of the way that I started becoming interested in this topic was doing the work I was doing, which is primarily counterterrorism, counter weapons proliferation, and counter narcotics based, obviously overseas. And so in doing that kind of work, bad people tend to hang out together. And so traffickers tend to hang out with, narco terrorists and gun runners, absolutely, all those people. And so anytime we would come across human trafficking information, we would kind of look, where do you put this stuff? That wasn't our mandate. It wasn't what we did. The unit I was in was the smallest operational unit in the U.S. government. And we got most of our missions came at the order of the president or the office of the president. So
now you're just bragging.
No.
You're like, listen, I don't want to say I'm a bad A dude, but yeah.
Except
how many times has the president called you?
Except you guys have seen me, so now you know that.
Whatever, 24.
So
Nick Bauer over here.
There wasn't anything that was off limits to us in the government. I mean, nothing. There was no red door of competence that we couldn't see behind. And so we would look for places to put this human trafficking based information, and there was nothing. There really wasn't anywhere to put it. So that, I'm kind of an academic nerd, so I really started studying the issue and originally started looking at it through that lens of this happens in Bangkok, Thailand. This happens in Savapak, Cambodia. This happens in Islamabad or Peshawar. This doesn't happen surely in the United States of America, right? And once I really started doing a deep dive on the data, I started realizing that not only does it happen here in the United States, but the U.S. dollar drives human trafficking worldwide.
Wow.
That
hurts the gut.
Yeah,
man.
Right? No, seriously. I mean, we were talking off air about a story that hit right here in the ABQ, and I was just my stomach turned.
Absolutely. If you want to stop human trafficking, and particularly the commercial sex trade in Cambodia, in Thailand, you stop it in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Wow.
You stop it in Billings, Montana. You stop it in those places. When you look at slavery worldwide, estimates are there's between 27 and 32 million slaves around the world. Now, nobody quite knows that number. It's an underground economy. Anybody who tells you they know the exact number, you should be highly suspicious of. But most of the numbers here are extrapolated from a guy out of Harvard University. His name is Siddharth Kara. He's kind of the world's foremost expert in the economics of human trafficking. And so from the mathematical models that he created, we think there's between 27 and 32 million slaves around the world. Of those of those, let's call it 27 million. Of those 27 million slaves, only 4.2% of them are actually used for commercial sex. It's not near as high as people think. The problem is that 4.2% generates 39% of the profit.
Wow.
Not the revenue, the profit.
They're like the cash cow.
Exactly. Man. So you have a commodity that is generating the majority of the money. However, here in the United States, the numbers are flipped. The majority of slaves in the United States are actually used for commercial sex. And usually there's a foreign component to it, and that is what drives the profit margins overseas.
Wow. It's crazy.
Man, that's nuts.
Yeah.
So how did Deliver Fund come about? Because, I mean, you're talking about working for the president and doing these crazy operations overseas. How does that get you to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and doing something here?
Well, Albuquerque is, before I moved to D.C., Albuquerque is where I lived, so it was as good a place to start as any.
Yeah.
You've got the intersection of two major arteries for the United States.
Yeah.
Trafficking tends to follow the roads, because if you want to move anything anonymously in the United States, you just put it in your car and stay below the speed limit, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we started it here. But in that research of trying to figure out who in the U.S. government was doing meaningful work about this, I quickly realized that it was the street cop.
Okay.
It's the guy who is the undercover cop who, is working ridiculous hours, maybe has a partner if he's lucky, has no funding really to speak of, and probably, if you look at most local police departments, they actually don't have a human trafficking specific unit. They usually have a vice unit that goes after prostitution, and as either a secondary or tertiary duty, they go after human trafficking. And so what I realized was that the federal level resources weren't making it down to the guys who were doing the heavy lifting. And, and here in Albuquerque, the cops get a lot of bad press, obviously. But the reality is they're people. Yeah. They're not perfect. They do the absolute best job they can, given basically, baling twine and paper clips and some duct tape, and they're told to go fight crime against criminals who have 100 times the budget and aren't bound by the Constitution on what they can and can't do. Yeah. So they've got a tough job, and none of that makes it down to them. So in doing that research, I realized that this is an intelligence problem. I know a thing or two about intelligence. There's got to be a group out there doing this. There wasn't. And so we started Deliver Fund specifically to do this kind of work.
Wow. So cool.
I think we always underestimate the importance of just education on something.
Right.
Because you just assume, you're like, well, if we tell people it's the right thing to do, especially Christians, then they'll do it because it's the right thing to do. But then you forget that down the road, we all question why we're doing stuff.
Yeah.
So the education about it is super important. Mm-hmm. It's very true.
We got Nic McKinley hanging out with us from deliverfund.org.
I posted it on our Facebook page, so you can go directly there if you'd like to help support this incredible nonprofit.
You guys have a great website, too.
Hey, thanks.
It's really good.
I had a PR company out of DC donate that to us.
Nice.
So.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
As much as I'd like to take credit for that, I joke with my wife all the time. I'm like, yeah, I'm a spy. I can do it.
Check out this website I just made.
Speaking of the End It movement, today's the day. We put the red X on our hands, and we change our profile pictures, and we do things. And yesterday we talked in great length about what we termed slacktivism. Just kind of not doing something, but in turn, it's actually doing something. So today we have posted all that on our Facebook page, but I'm stoked to actually have you in studio talking about these cool things. My son just texted me and said that you sound exactly like Racer X, which is probably the coolest thing on the planet. You just became like 10 levels of cooler.
Sweet.
So yeah, welcome to the show, Racer X. Sweet. How can we do more than just change our profile pictures?
Great question. The first thing everybody in the world can do is stop supporting the porn industry.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things about Deliver Fund is we work with trafficking victims on a regular basis. We collect intelligence on human traffickers. We work with police. We are as in the weeds as you can possibly get on this issue. And every single person we work with shows a correlation between the pornography industry and the human trafficking industry. Everything from girls being forced to do webcam work in hotel rooms that they are locked in between customers, and some guy on the other side doesn't really realize, he thinks he's got some harmless thing going on, right? But he doesn't realize every time he clicks the mouse on his computer, he's adding a link to a chain that's wrapped around some girl somewhere on the other side.
Wow.
Gosh.
And so that's the number one thing. The second thing is support the nonprofits, obviously,
Yeah.
I shamelessly think we're an incredibly effective nonprofit.
Yeah.
But
you sound like it.
Support the nonprofits that are doing this kind of work because we are not going to change the political expediency that is happening right now in the federal, state, and local governments around human trafficking. But be smart with your money.
I was just about to say.
There's over 1,500 nonprofits registered in the United States that claim to be doing something about human trafficking. And some of them are just knocking it out of the park. Groups like A21 and International Justice Mission and Shared Hope. Earlier you guys were talking about Tennessee. Why is Tennessee kind of leading the country in human trafficking legislation? Something that the state of New Mexico should actually be using as a model. If there is anybody in New Mexico government that's listening. The reason is because of Shared Hope International, and specifically a guy by the name of Ryan Dalton, who is the founder of a group called Rescue Forensics. But he also was legal counsel for Shared Hope, where he was actually they were driving this legislation straight into the state capitol. And so supporting the nonprofits that are doing that work is the second thing. Third thing is start holding our politicians accountable. When you look at the laws on the books for the state of New Mexico, when you look at the laws on the books for a lot of states in this country, they just haven't caught up to the times. The retail storefront of human trafficking today is the internet. It's Backpage.com. It's a host of different websites, and the legislation is so focused, and the laws are so focused on movement of an individual that a lot of pimps or traffickers actually can't be charged with trafficking because they never moved the girl. And they only sold her on the web. And here's a perfect example.
Oh, okay.
Everybody thinks you were talking about the New Mexico case a little while ago.
Yeah.
One that really pops into my mind is a girl who, starting at 12 years old, was trafficked. She grew up in Rio Rancho, was first trafficked in Rio Rancho. At one point, it was about 10 minutes away from her dad's house. And by the time we started working with her, she was 22 and was over on East Central. Wow. And so you are looking at 10 years of trafficking and being a trafficking victim in her own hometown. Never went anywhere.
Gosh.
10
That's
years.
crazy.
That is a sobering thing.
Yeah. How many more
absolutely.
are out there in that same position right here in the city right now?
And so this is why we talk about it, which is I'm so glad we were able to kind of pre-talk about this yesterday to bring awareness so that we could to get past the profile pics and the slacktivism and all the crap that we were talking about yesterday. To bring it back to the heart of it, this is why we're doing this. And Nick, you said something that really struck me, because I think a lot of times we will hear stories like this and just feel gutted and go, I got to do something right now. But we don't use discernment, we don't use wisdom, and we'll just jump on the internet maybe and help out some random organization. And I just met you, but I got to tell you already, I'm going straight to Deliver Fund, because I think there's a difference between like the college kid who's like, man, I just have a heart for this. You have like a David story where like he was the shepherd who was like fending off lions and bears because God was prepping him for incredible work. And you're like, yeah, I basically lived Homeland in 24 so that God could prepare you for this, for like such a time as this, where you are doing something in Albuquerque, New Mexico to actually practically stop human trafficking in our city. And I'm just like, I'm like blown away that I get to hang out with you right now, because I'm stoked on your story, man. Seriously.
Well, let's go ahead and set the record straight. Jack Bauer is sloppy. He's always getting caught.
Yeah!
He's always getting caught.
Oh my
He's
gosh!
always in chases and shootouts. And
Okay.
I mean, come on, man.
Let's take a slight diversion here. Did you see that show Quantico? It's new.
No, I haven't.
Okay, it's pretty good.
So
But I think it's FBI. I don't think it's CIA. I don't know if there's some kind of rivalry between.
Since we're taking that detour, what is the greatest like CIA type show of all
what's
time?
a real,
like, is there any accurate show out there?
Is Homeland really realistic?
All right, you guys ready for a confession?
Do it.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
You don't have time for TV
You
because
don't
you
watch
actually are
TV.
doing real things.
I'm actually one of the probably. Well, okay, so I just married the other person who doesn't have a TV. So,
Oh my gosh!
yeah, so
Man.
the two
Good.
people in the United States who don't own TVs are
You and your wife.
myself and
Yeah.
my wife.
That's
pretty
amazing,
good.
dude. You know what? Even more
fine.
commendable.
Yeah.
That just means you're really out there doing stuff.
Oh, that's so
Amazing.
I knew I could trust him when he didn't watch a TV.
cool. We got Nic McKinley
Yes.
from deliverfund.org. You guys go there. We got all the details at our Facebook page.
Yes.
And this is an organization you guys want to support because, like me, I'm sitting here going, how do I get involved? How do I help?
What do we do?
You know?
Everybody's posting their Facebook photos, their Instagram photos. This is a practical way to get
Yep.
involved with an organization that is on the front lines, actually doing something in our city.
This is the group that is going into the city and finding and helping these people that are trapped. And these people, they don't know how to get out of it.
Right.
Gosh, I can't even imagine being in that world. But, Nick and his wife and all the amazing people a part of that organization, they're doing it. And you can be a part of it. So, all right, we got to take a break. More with Nick when we come back.
The Morning Invasion on Star 88.
We're going to take a break and come right back.
We'll be right back.
Good morning. We are the Morning Invasion. Dex, Steve-O, and Teo, and Nic McKinley hanging out with us from deliverfund.org. We're talking about slavery. They have a great organization. It is 7:35.
High today of 55 degrees. I got a great email from Anna. She says, guys, seriously, you're awesome. I was so excited you're investing and talking about human trafficking and slavery. Thank you so much for letting the guy from Deliver Fund talk on the radio. I had no idea the group even existed in Albuquerque. So encouraging to see people legitimately doing something to help and how we everyday people can help them. Thanks again, Anna. Anna, I posted the 3 things on our Facebook page. Nick, last segment, talked about some practical ways that we as the normal human being can get involved because we're not all Jack Bauer. I'm gonna stop using Jack Bauer as the
He's sloppy,
you
man.
know,
Right.
like
He's sloppy.
Yeah.
He's sloppy.
He
That's
is
good
no
to know.
longer the guy, the dude. Nick is the dude.
Yeah.
We need a hero name for him. We need a Nick hero name. Nicolas Cage.
No, that's not. No.
That would be
So
a good
funny
one.
thing, my friends used to call me Buzzkill. Because
Wait, when you say friends, is that in quotation marks?
guys on my team,
Was that your code name? My friend.
Buzzkill.
yeah, they would call me Buzzkill because I'm such an academic nerd that, anything that you like, you're like, oh, I really like this bottle of water, and I'll start talking about the impurities in the water, and they're like,
Did you know
dude.
that
So you're
60% of-
C3PO. That's it. You are C3PO. Actually, there's a 98.7% chance that we will not survive this mission.
That's awesome. Buzzkill.
I love it.
98.7, I like those odds.
But see, Buzzkill still sounds kind of cool, because it's like
I like Buzzkill.
Buzzkill.
Yeah. They call me Buzz.
Yeah, because you're killing the buzz on human traffickers, bro. You're like knocking down doors.
Kill
and
their
like,
buzz.
Yeah.
Man, it's Shine a Light on Slavery Day, and if you've noticed our Facebook page, you can change your Facebook profile page, and that's great. I think changing that, raising awareness, because a lot of people are going to see that and they're going to want to know what's this all about. And
Right.
hopefully they'll educate themselves and hit the Google and all that stuff. You
Hit
know?
the Google.
Hit the Google.
Sounded
The
like you were
Googler.
70 years
Yeah,
old.
Hit the
I know.
Googler.
You make it sound
Hit
like
the
it's a
goobs.
really, really tough. Like you can't figure it out.
Hey man,
There's a
Googler.
possibility that you'll get it right, but it'll be by chance. Just hit the
So,
Googler.
yeah.
It might work out.
Hit the Googler.
Today we are doing that very thing though, shining a light.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Nick in studio hanging out talking about this locally Deliver Fund.
And yesterday we talked about slacktivism and the effectiveness and then the counterintuitiveness, I guess, of it. But so today we're bringing in this guy who's like, well, here's how you can actually help.
Well, here's the great thing. Our talk about slacktivism and like, does it even do anything? In turn, garnered a phone call from them who was listening saying, hey, we actually are doing
So it
something.
does. Yeah.
So
It does.
So I completely I changed my stance. It's
Raising
like,
awareness
I'm
works.
going to post a photo. I'm going to do everything today because it's very, very true. Now, we've been talking about practical ways that we can make a difference right now. Is, stop supporting the porn industry, support the nonprofits that are actually doing good work. I obviously would say just check out deliverfund.org because they are doing incredible things, and hold our politicians accountable. Those are practical ways we can get involved. I wanted to ask a question because as we look at this, obviously it's horrific. We've only heard a couple stories, and my heart is still like just ripped apart by the thought of this 12-year-old girl right here in Rio Rancho, and spending a decade in this. This is something that you see and you live out like on the huge. This is your world. How do you find hope and sustainability in Jesus when you are seeing such horrific, dark things on a regular basis?
I mean, how do we press forward in the face of overwhelming odds?
Well put.
That's
Gosh,
Buzzkill's
I'm
life
just gonna
mission.
go.
You're talking to Buzzkill.
He's already saying words better than me. Just rephrase all my questions because that was way
I just
better.
got really excited. I don't know why.
I know.
Yes, what you said.
And that's what it is. But as Christians, we're called to be salt and light.
Yeah.
God never said, well, only do it when it seems like you can win.
Man.
Because the whole point is it's we, this isn't the Nic McKinley show. The Deliver Fund is, and all the nonprofits that are doing good work.
Yeah.
You guys are doing good work. This isn't our show. This is all God's show.
Amen.
And so we're just tools, right? We're the scalpel in the hands of the surgeon. And so God never said, well, only press forward when it seems like you can probably win. He said, despite the fact that you can't see the end, right?
Yeah.
Step it out in faith.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we do. We have faith that we will win. Well, we also have a book that tells us we'll eventually win, right? Which makes it a whole lot easier,
Right.
but
if you trust in it, you know what I mean?
absolutely.
You still have to have that faith that it's real, that God's word is true.
We Deliver Fund is not we are not a on paper religious organization.
Right.
We're a secular organization. We're run by a bunch of strong Christians.
Yeah.
And most of us in the executive leadership, that is why we got into this. But if you look at, I have the people I have working for me, it's absolutely humbling. I have some of our country's best operatives who have rearranged their lives, sold cars. I have one guy who sold his house and is living in his toy hauler.
Wow.
Just so that he can do this kind of work, because as a nonprofit, obviously we can't compete with the government in what we pay people.
Right.
But even those guys and girls who are not believers, they still are coming from a background in a place where they were always up against overwhelming odds, right? A story that's been in the media a lot, you look at the agency team, the CIA team that was in Benghazi, right? So I don't remember how many people the media are saying was out there, so whatever that number is.
Right.
They are... they were in a fight against overwhelming odds.
Yeah.
And, on the shooter side, they lost 2 people, but you'll notice nobody's talking about the body count on the other side.
Right.
And that's because you have people who are used to going up against overwhelming odds. If you look at the probability that a guy like me exists, and that a guy like me starts doing this kind of work, it's infinitesimally small. I was adopted. I won the adoption lottery and got adopted into an incredible family.
Yeah.
And so very much just like Christine Kane, I very well could have ended up in that, the
system.
Kind of the system. And, a lot of these kids, when they age out of foster care, end up, and they are ripe pickings for traffickers, both males and females. People don't realize that males are trafficked too, or a lot of times become the traffickers, right? So I was adopted out of that into the great family that I was. That is a very small probability. Then the fact that I made it through the Air Force pararescue selection, 92% attrition rate, very small probability I did that. Man. Then the work that I did in the investment banking industry, I did kidnap and ransom work for about 2 years. Nobody really gets that experience. And then to be recruited into the CIA and actually make it, which they actually hire about 1%, right? So 99% chance of not making it into that, and then making it into the unit. So you kind of see the whole point here.
Yeah.
And it's not because I'm that great. It's not, I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of people who are a whole lot better than me who should have made it through that training, and I watched them fail out. It's because God was preparing me to do this kind of work.
Yeah.
So who am I to then be like, oh man, that looks hard.
True.
That's amazing.
Sorry, God. I got a thing with a guy at a place. I can't really do this.
Yeah. So did you grow up in the church?
I did. I grew up. Whether I liked it or not, I was in church twice a week, and I had I should say a prodigal period, where I went off on my own, and I think like many of us, and thought I could do it better by myself, and it didn't really work out so well.
Right.
So I
it's the way it
decided
goes.
I'd go back to the way that.
How clean does your record have to be to get in the CIA?
Believe it or not, that doesn't matter.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because your record only shows us what you got caught doing.
Oh.
And every single person sitting in this room, and most people listening to this, didn't get caught doing something that they were supposed to get caught doing.
Boom.
Wow.
So
I can't tell you guys.
So all the agency cares about is who you are right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's about a 18-month
That's like the Lord.
process
How
to
cool
figure
is that? You know what I mean?
That is
an
like the
incredible
Lord.
analogy. The CIA is the Lord.
Having been inside that building, I'm actually going to say that's a horrible analogy.
Horrible analogy. Okay. It's the idea that it doesn't matter where you've been, what you've been through. It's who you are now today as a person. Like that just means something. That's incredible.
That's
the
so
idea
cool.
that you're given an opportunity, and wow.
That's
I'm blown away.
So when exactly did specifically human trafficking become an issue to you? Like what made it click that you were like, this is what I want to? These are the insurmountable odds that I want to try to overcome.
In late 2006, Hezbollah and the Israelis decided to have a little party in southern Lebanon, and I was working for a private company in New York, and I ended up getting the first 23 Americans out of Lebanon. Wow. Runways were bombed. Nobody could get anybody out. And there were a lot of people that were kind of getting snatched up and disappearing. And we were hearing on the street, in the streets in Beirut specifically, that, people couldn't find their kids. And I heard people talk, human trafficking, but I didn't really pay attention to it. And then fast forward, I guess about 6 or 7 months, there was a tsunami or a hurricane that hit the Baja Peninsula. And to really shorten the story, I got a call to help with a missing girl. And there was a father who was really going to put a second mortgage on his home in order to be able to pay the company I was working for to go find his daughter.
Wow.
And when we started talking with the Bureau, they were like, hey, the FBI, they were like, this really sounds like a human trafficking case. And that was really the first, punch to the side of the head.
Yeah. This is a real thing.
Yeah, and that made me start looking at it. I did some, fast forward about a year, I did some work in Baghdad where we ran into some human trafficking information, and it just was like one little grain of sand on top of another little grain of sand. And
but
then
being perceptive to see that God's kind of like putting these puzzle pieces in front of you is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, well, I'd like to take credit for it, but there was a whole lot of not so much moving, but more like hitting me with a bullwhip on the side of the Holy Spirit to say, hey, pay attention to this.
Right.
And then it wasn't until I was in Helmand Province, Afghanistan, I would say late 2012. And I really, and before that, I'd been doing a lot of research and just kind of more really from a morbid curiosity standpoint, researching human trafficking. And once you get through all the pseudoscience and you really start diving into the data, that's when the scales get removed from your eyes, so to speak. And I was doing a counter narcotics mission in Helmand Province, and the guy that we were going after was actually making the majority of his money from trafficking little Afghan boys and selling them for any host of purposes. And so that was actually where Deliver Fund got. That was where I decided I was going to do this. Yeah. It went from an idea to this is something I'm going to do. Yeah. And that's where actually Deliver Fund got its name, and started researching. Okay, how do I build a nonprofit, because no one else is doing this work, so it looks like I need to go do it.
Yeah, and just real quick, a lot of you are listening right now. We're talking about the sex slavery industry. Talking with Nic McKinley from Deliver Fund, and it's happening right here in our backyard. Right. This is happening right here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Nick's already shared some stories on some of the things that they've been a part of, and some of the people that they've reached out and helped. And so the money that you give to this fund is it's going to help these people, because we're talking about it off the air. Steve and I were on. Can you imagine the girl or even the boy who has been caught in slavery for years? What that does to your psyche, right? What it does mentally to a person. And so, they're going to need counseling. They're going to need, what are those things that they need when you find these people? Yeah.
The biggest one, and one of the biggest misconceptions about trafficking in the United States versus trafficking overseas, is that there's not a lot of narcotics involved. Overseas, you see very little narcotics use. Over here, they call heroin the leash, and so the heroin addiction piece of it, the narcotics addiction piece, resources to help these girls with the narcotics addiction. We see a lot of homes across the country, and Deliver Fund isn't just an Albuquerque organization. We're a national organization. When you look at the resources available, there's a lot of resources available for girls that don't have kids and girls that are not addicted to narcotics. And we need more resources for girls who are addicted to narcotics. And at Deliver Fund, we can't do everything. We're called to be good at what we're good at, and to leave things to other people. So anybody who feels a calling to do that piece would be good. The counseling, obviously, they need a lot of that. What they primarily need to know is that their trafficker isn't going to come pick them up. Yeah. One of the girls that we worked with spent about 18 months in a juvenile facility for prostitution, because our system is that broken. So she spends 18 months in a juvenile facility for prostitution, and guess who was there to pick her up when she got out?
Her pimp. The
same trafficker that she had beforehand. And so that's really what these girls need to know. Yeah. Is that their trafficker is going away, because they're scared literally to death. They think that they're going to be killed. A lot of them.
I'd like to open up the phone lines. If you guys want to call in and talk to Nick, you got questions about slavery, anything, because I've been educated just the past 2 days us talking about this, and there's so many things that we need to know about, especially here locally in Albuquerque. How can we get involved, all that kind of stuff. 338-3700. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yes, I had a question. We're starting up a ministry at my church. I have a background I have personal experience with the trafficking industry. And we're trying to do a little more than an outreach. We're trying to identify these people. The church that I attend is rather large, and it's in a part of the city that income isn't so high. So we have a lot of young kids that are susceptible to this. Having a little difficulty developing a curriculum to help these girls and boys when we've got them out of the industry, also the sex industry, not just trafficking. Was wondering if you could lead any guidance to that. Again, I'm having a little problem developing a curriculum to help them afterwards.
So the question is,
do you offer any kind of assistance for that?
After girls are trafficked, or in letting them know?
Kind of, you kind of outreach to them, pull them in, and you're like, okay, great. Since we're out of church, you're saved. Now, see ya. We want to develop something where they have a network of people so they don't fall back into the old habits and where it's comfortable and maybe go back to the person that was trafficking them. Again, I have personal experience with trafficking, so I kind of know when they're susceptible and easy to be dragged back in again.
Absolutely. It really depends on what their circumstances are. Because while the story tends to be the same with trafficking victims inside the United States, the details definitely vary, and the details matter. There's a good organization run by the Kaplan family and the Kaplan Family Foundation here in Albuquerque called Freedom House, New Mexico, and they have essentially a halfway house and a program that these girls can go into. And I believe they have, I might be wrong on this, but I believe they have 4 empty beds right now. And they take care of all the costs. They help everything.
That's cool.
So Freedom House New Mexico would be a good one. I would start with there. And then as far as creating your own curriculum, really it's something that has to be in-house. Like you guys either have to have it internal or partner with an organization like A21. A21 is launching operations here in the United States, and I know that they're looking for more and more states and more churches to be involved with.
Great, yeah, because I think the background that I have with human trafficking could add some assistance. I was never trafficked, but I was involved in the other side.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, I'll tell you right now, it sounds like at Deliver Fund, we'd be very interested in having one of our analysts sit down and talk with you. So maybe...
And I think, when I was saved, most people, I've heard a lot, all that's behind me. Well, I kind of saw everything slip back. Not in a bad way, just like I was watching a movie. And everything I had done and contributed to the sex industry came back, and he was telling me, you know what? The stuff you did, we're going to use to help other people get out, because the knowledge I have is from the other side.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And I'll tell you, if you'd be willing to speak with us, that's exactly the kind of information we collect on a daily basis.
Oh yeah, I'd be more than happy to.
That's cool. Thank you so much for calling in. That's awesome.
Well, how could I get involved with that then, if you want to have one of your people speak with me?
Just go to deliverfund.org, and there's a contact us page, and just fill that out, and just put urgent and in the subject line, and my chief of staff will get to it and redirect it to me.
Well, wonderful, and I thank you for all the work that you're doing.
Thank you for
the call.
Yeah. Also, guys, I just posted a link. You can register. Nick's going to be speaking at an event on March 10th.
Nice.
At Albuquerque Academy. So all the info's at our Facebook. Do you guys have a Facebook?
We don't yet.
Okay.
We should have our social platforms launching in the next probably 30 to 60 days.
Do you guys need volunteers? I mean, can anybody come and volunteer? How does that work?
No.
No, okay.
No, in order
smart.
to be, we get that.
I agree.
We get that all the time, and thank you for that. And I'll just go ahead and hedge off a lot of the contact us that is probably being drafted right now on people's computers.
Yeah.
In order to work for Deliver Fund as an operative, you have to have a minimum of 6 years of special operations experience within the Department of Defense.
Nice.
And you have to have, on top of that, a minimum of 2 years of operational intelligence collection.
Oh my gosh.
So
the legitest of the legit.
Yeah. And we do vet people out. We, it's a very small community that we come from, so we know whether or not, I mean, you can imagine we get people telling us all the time that we need to bring
We
them
think
in.
our vetting process for volunteers for the Starmy is nuts.
But really the best way people can help us out is raising awareness about us as an organization, and then also donations. Most people think that oh man, all I can give is $15. Well, the widow's mite is what keeps us running.
Yeah.
And that is we do have people cut us very large checks. But what really keeps us going is those $15 a month